Man, oh man, it's kind of crazy to watch people melt down over little old Scott Jennings, our Salem Media colleague, who also is a CNN contributor. And they can't believe that this guy is allowed to present a conservative point of view on CNN. And the meltdown, they're losing their minds. I'm reading this morning about how CNN staffers were apparently so enraged at Scott Jennings sharing that senior administration officials shared with him that there was intelligence that Iran was getting closer and closer to a military action, which contradicted some of the so-called journalists over at CNN, and they're livid. They're saying, how's he get away with this? Listen to what panic sounds like. Remember Jim Acosta, the hack, the Trump-hating leftist who pretended to be a journalist on CNN before they dumped him? They fired him, and now he's off in, podcast world. Here he is on his podcast, truly flipping out about Scott Jennings and what might happen at CNN if Paramount, and this whole big story with Paramount acquiring Warner Brothers division, which would essentially give control of CNN to Paramount. Now, Paramount is also, running CBS. CBS News is being run by a woman named Barry Weiss, who used to be a New York Times columnist, and she started the Free Press. And she's really known for rejecting woke. She hates the woke mind virus. And she wants to be balanced to some degree. Now, I don't think CBS is going to turn into, an even playing field anytime soon, but they seem to be making some steps in the right direction. 60 Minutes the other night, my gosh, they were presenting points of view that completely justified the Trump administration's decision. So check out Jim Acosta, the ex-CNNer, freaking out about Scott Jennings maybe getting his own show, heaven forbid, over at CNN.
Do we want Scott Jennings anchoring the CBS Evening News or anchoring AC 360 and talking about what a great president Donald Trump is and how he's the best president since George Washington and Abraham Lincoln? What kind of crazy Stranger Things upside down world are we going to become if that's the kind of news and information that we have pumping out over the airwaves in this country? It sounds to me that that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. All you have to do is go inside his twisted mind. Just the other day, he was tweeting about sending a hospital boat to Greenland. He can't even stay awake at his own events. And this is the guy who's going to cow these giant media properties into combining into one another and becoming propaganda arms of his administration.
His twisted little mind? Scott Jennings has more prominence right now than Jim Acosta ever had. And they hate him for it. I don't even know what that reference is. He can't stay awake at his own events. What does that mean? Can I tell you my famous, never-to-be-forgotten Jim Acosta story? Back when Sebastian Gorka was a colleague here at Salem Media, we were invited to the White House to meet with President Trump in the Oval Office, and we were waiting in the White House press briefing room. And I always like to share a little insight about the White House press briefing room because it's really small and dingy and kind of gross. I forget which president built it over the White House swimming pool, but it looks good on camera. They got the fake pillars and behind Caroline Levitt and the blue background and all of that. But it's a real dingy, small little room. Anyway, Seb Gorka and I are standing there waiting to be summoned into the Oval Office, and Jim Acosta comes slithering by. And Jim Acosta looks up at Seb Gorka and me and says, this room is supposed to be reserved for journalists only. And then he keeps walking. Well, Gorka, now you know Gorka, he's a big imposing guy with a big booming voice with the British accent. And of course, he's not going to stand for that. And Gorka says, "What did you say? What did you say to me, Abilio? Abilio, come back here, Abilio! How dare you say that, Abilio?" I'm thinking, what the heck is Seb talking about? Who the heck is Abilio? And when Gorka is shrieking, "Abilio, come back here, you clown, you coward, Abilio, who do you think you are?" Well, Acosta turns 3 shades of white, and he just like scurries out like a rat on a sinking ship. He couldn't get out of that room fast enough. It was like, uh-oh, I stepped in it now. So I said to Seb, I said, "Who's Abilio?" He goes, "Look it up. That's his real name." Turns out, and one of the things that Seb was saying as he's booming his voice across the White House press briefing is, "What's the matter with your real name, Abilio? Not good enough for CNN? You have to be Jim? You have to anglicize your name, Abilio?" Abilio is Jim Acosta's real first name. And he must have, anglicized it for TV. True story. I'll never forget that. And Abilio was mortified. Gorka tore into him. It was one of the most satisfying moments I've ever seen. So for Abilio Acosta to attack Scott Jennings this way, Scott is over the target.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.